Nectar of the Gods is a real-time strategy game that says it's inspired by speed chess, but I felt was actually more inspired, whether it knew it or not, by the clan mobile games. Here you're in 1 versus 1 in a team format. You choose your faction of bugs and take your 8 bugs, or 8 varieties of bugs, into the board. And then you'll be throwing them, trying to overwhelm your opponent by getting them to walk across the board whilst they're doing the same back to you. The idea of the game is to reduce someone's health down by reaching the other side, and then eventually their health will hit 0, and whoever is still alive at the end wins. Nectar of the Gods is free to play, and that gives you the option of just one of the 3 currently available factions, the Beetles. Inside there are 8 different bugs, and each bug has its own unique skill, as well as its attack and defense rating, and an amount of energy that it requires to be placed on the board. Your energy is shown by the 2 straws, the one for each team, so you'll kind of know how much energy you've got and whether or not you can afford to place that bug down. When you do, its health is then placed in the middle of its bug as it moves across the screen, and then its attack will take place if it collides with a member of the opposite team. If it survives, it will reduce its health down and it will continue on because it's like a mutual hit for both sides, regardless of like who's moving where. If it dies, there's a little spot on the screen and you got to continue on. Now, what I really like about the Nectar of the Gods is that each bug really does feel like it's useful in its own way, depending on your playing style. But also, if you did choose to buy the DLC, the Hive and Spidey factions for bees and spiders have 8 completely different bugs with different abilities as well. So it's not like a copy and paste and it's just a theming option. They genuinely have unique traits and abilities and play differently. And where I had the most fun with Nectar of the Gods is by mashing different factions up against each other in battle. Because if you've got 2 beetle factions going up against each other, you know what the other one can bring, and so you can kind of understand where you want to kind of spam little ones to bring down a tank quite quickly. Whereas with, say, like the Hive and Spidey, there's one of the factions is much more around buffering what you've got out there, so you can lay down like a little hive that will then make your next 3 or 4 bugs that you launch meatier and more attack and more health. But obviously that's going to mean that you delay your attack further if you can wait that long. The spider one also lays down loads of different cobweb which can slow you down, which can really help stop a tank getting somewhere whilst you're trying to build up your energy to lay down plenty of defensive actions. So it's really interesting how it can play out, and I did feel like they were all quite equally balanced as well, which is quite difficult to do with this style of game. However, if you stick with just the free-to-play, you'll have the Beetles option, but you will also be able to play in solo play, local and online multiplayer with other people that have got the Beetle Brigade too. Now, there's a couple of weird tricks to this game that I think need ironing out for me to be totally satisfied with the experience. The first one is that I found that the graphics to be quite rudimentary. They're clean, but they're rudimentary, and same for the sound as well. But more pressingly, the controls for how you lay down a bug are really weird. And it's because of a visual and like sensory bug that's going on with the game, which I hope gets fixed quite quickly. You need to press down one of the analog sticks to basically bring out one of the radial menus, because although you've got 8 bugs, there's 4 assigned to each stick, and you've got up, down, left and right. The problem with that is that you might move your cursor as if you're going to select something from the radial menu, but actually all you need to do is hit up, down, left or right on that stick, and it will choose your bug for you. But it doesn't correlate to where your cursor is, and so for a long time I sat there thinking, I'm highlighting one bug but I'm choosing another. Welp. And so it feels like it's really buggy on that control scheme, and it doesn't feel like an intuitive control scheme either, which annoyed me somewhat when I was playing on the controller. The other thing that isn't intuitive is that the encyclopedia of all the different bugs and what they do is the vaguest thing ever. It's just like little poetry comments. It doesn't actually tell you what they do, so you need to go in and play an experiment, and it doesn't really give you much help until you've lost a few battles for you to then go, oh, okay, I understand what that does and what its relevance is. But you will have to play a few times, because you're not going to want to go through all of these different bugs and be like, what does this do? What does that do? Whilst playing on the fly. And you do that in like solo mode rather than then taking that online and learning on the job. I wasn't able to play online battles. There wasn't enough people playing, or any people playing when I was playing. Although, to be fair, I did have this prior to launch for review, so that would explain it. But I could see this maybe having a small cult following, but again, it's going to halve it down from those who have just got the base game versus the DLC. So perhaps local multiplayer only is going to be where this game thrives most. I would like to see at least 2 more factions come out before I'd give this like a thoroughly recommend, but the base is here for something quite interesting. It just needs a little tightening up on the control scheme, a little bit more information in the bug system, and perhaps a little bit more zhuzh on the old graphical display for me to feel like this would be something that I'd come back to time and again, because I was amused with the distraction of the game whilst I played it, and very quickly forgot about it when I moved on to other things. So, written review will be over on Nectar of the Gods, which will include talking about the DLC, not just the free-to-play stuff, so if you're interested in buying and going over that step, the information will be there for you. But yeah, interesting one. Not a wholehearted recommendation, but there's a good solid base here. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.